Modis Castillo.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye. We're here.
McDonough.
Here. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
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 First item is to approve the agenda for May 28th, please.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes?
Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. Next item is to approve the minutes from May 21st, please.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any corrections? Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter. Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. Commissioner Ortega, you have the administrative items.
Mr. Chair, I move item number 5, number 6, 7, 8.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Ortega.
Aye.
Reinhardt.
Aye.
Carter.
Yes?
Modis Castillo.
Aye.
McGuire.
Aye.
McDonough.
Aye. Commissioner McGuire. Legislative update.
Boy, I'll tell you. Well, they did finish. I think there were a lot of bets going on about when they were really going to get done, but they did finish by 6:58, I think, on Saturday morning, and thus finished their special session in one full legislative day, which is 24 hours. And so I think that everybody didn't get everything that they wanted, and but they felt that it was a good compromised bill. They had good compromised, good bills that were compromised. Compromised.
Compromised.
Compromised. Yeah. Really,
Good bills that were compromised.
Right. Yeah. We're trying to figure out how to say that, but. Anyway, we're still going through the bills and finding out. Our staff with the holiday weekend are still going through the bills to find out exactly what was happening. One of the things that we had been watching was the bonding bill, and they did get some housing bonds in that, but no special projects were funded this year. And I think we had all high hopes about our special projects, but this really is technically and traditionally not a bonding year. So next year is a bonding year, and I think that they're hopeful that the projects that were not included this year will be considered for next year. So those are the special projects, which includes our Battle Creek Recreation Area and different transportation issues. So, but we were able to get some county program aid dollars, and we had some MFIP dollars that was good, and so we're still waiting to see all the things that actually were actually included in the bills. So we'll give a bigger report next week or in a few weeks when they've actually been able to pull it all together. But we thank, Jen O'Rourke and Claudia Brewington and Nick Riley, who were there, most of that time, just making sure that our issues were not forgotten. So thank you, and thanks to them.
Yep. Any other updates from commissioners?
Yeah. Anything else that Victoria?
Victoria?
Well, I just wanted to comment that it was really too bad that the legislation regarding TCE and the release that had been going on for over 17 years into the neighborhood in White Bear Township, White Bear Lake, Gem Lake, right in that corner, that legislation, none of that actually ended up passing. But I do still want to give a shout out for the really hard work that Senators Roger Chamberlain, Jason Isaacson,
and Jamie Becker-Finn,
and
representative.
well, actually, it was more the legislators from this side and Senator Uyghur, and then Representatives Waslowick, Fisher really took the lead on the House side, and I'm trying to think, Jamie Becker Finn. And I'm not sure, I probably have left some of them out, but I do know that the key people were Senator Chamberlain and Representative Fisher as far as the last push towards it. And that was a TCE ban that was phased in over a number of years, and also had a number of exemptions so that it wasn't going to be an undue hardship if there were some that was the only thing they could use. So I think that all the precautions were put in for those industries that would use it, but really protected the residents all over this state. I mean, it wasn't just one company that used it, and there are alternatives, and even safer ones than the one they have switched to. So I really feel on behalf of the neighborhood group, Sherry Hastings is I don't know if it's chair or president of that, but has done just a fabulous job trying to protect into the future. They also had the legislation that was trying to help let the neighborhood be involved in how those funds were, the penalty funds were spent, and that was a separate bill. And we thought we had that, well, it was all worked out, but ultimately the chamber lobby was a little too much, and they couldn't overcome that. That's my analysis. Maybe the legislators have a different view. But we're not going to give up as far as the protection. The EPA does have TCE on its top 10 list as far as moving towards a federal ban, a national ban on TCE, and there are a number of other things as well. The fact of the matter is, and I know I'm spending some time on this, but the fact of the matter is there are alternatives for things, and yes, they may be a little more expensive, but when you look at the volatility of this particular chemical, there is no reason to put people's health and safety at risk. There just simply isn't. And, you know, I know the dollar is important, but it's not as if it's something that is terribly cost prohibitive either. And the protection equipment, the pollution prevention, or can't think of the right word, the stacks where they make sure that they are cleaning them out, the scrubbers. Again, companies need to make sure that they know that they're working properly, or have ones that are installed that are better for everyone involved. So, again, I'm spending a lot of time on this, but I think it's important that the work that the legislators did, that the neighborhood group did, nobody's going away. We're going to make sure that somehow this is dealt with and working with the tools that we have right now, and we'll see what happens next year. But Minnesota would have been a real leader in that, and really wish that could have gone through.
And thank you. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you. I just also wanted to add that a positive thing happened in the legislature that we'll all recognize as positive for Minnesota, the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, yes, which has been housed at the Association of Minnesota Counties these past many years since we implemented it here in our county, and others, starting with Hennepin and also Dakota County had implemented it early on. Now that program, which has been held at AMC, will be brought in to the Department of Corrections underneath current Commissioner Schnell. And they are looking very forward to the statewide expansion, continuing and growing. You know, whereas it started with our 3 counties back in 2006, is now in 14 counties across the state of Minnesota, with hopes that it will become a statewide initiative. Well, it is a statewide initiative right now, but that all counties across the state will incorporate the practices and policies that we have. Of course, it is to the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative that we largely credit the reforms that have been taking place in our county. And because of those reforms, we feel as though we're able to do a much better job for juveniles here. And so the same should be true across our state. congratulations to the team for the work that they did and for the opportunity for the sustainability that they now have underneath the Department of Corrections.
Good, thank you. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, it brings to mind a lot of issues that either happened or didn't happen, and it just causes me to have to comment that, you know, it doesn't matter how much work you do, some things get included and some things do, and some things, you know, you just work so hard on. Like we had 383, our corrections bill, and little, or not little, it was a big thing for us, but it did not get included. So next year, I want to remind people that this is a 2-year biennium, so the issues that did not happen this year are still alive for next year. They don't have to revisit all of it next year. They just have to get it included and then pass it for next year. So, and then the transportation funding. I mean, we just were so frustrated that the work that happened on getting a gas tax and things that no matter how hard you can work on something and how important the issue is and how much it should happen, it doesn't always happen. So we'll just keep working really hard, and I'm so grateful for the successes that we did have, but there were a number of issues that we were disappointed in.
Good, thank you. Mentioned 383, and I watched Jen, and
I'm
she
so
smiled
sorry.
because she got to listen to a 10-minute rant from me on Friday on why they couldn't include such a benign
know,
piece of legislation that
It's
affected
just
nobody in the state but 2 entities, and they both were very supportive of it.
Yeah.
Just
And
baffling.
it just, I know, it's the most frustrating thing. So tough.
Victoria.
And still on legislation, you mentioned Jen O'Rourke.
Yes.
And the team of Nick Riley and Claudia Brewington. Wow. I mean, kudos to the team, the amount of time, the making sure we were all in the right place at the right time, and doing everything possible to move things forward. And much of it did. You know, at the end of the session, we tend to dwell on what didn't happen. But the successes that we had, and as a result of the team, again, Jen O'Rourke, Nick Riley, and Claudia Brewington, were pretty amazing. So thank you.
Yep. And to you, Commissioner McGuire as chair and Commissioner Kerr as vice chair, starting back in November, working with our staff about defining our priorities and issues to work on, helping shepherd that through this board, and moving it through the legislative process. Thanks for your work. All right, County Manager Ryan O'Connor, County Connections.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, a couple announcements. I'd like to acknowledge our Communications and Public Relations Department this morning. John, I see, is here. John Stickland, our department head. I want to congratulate him and the entire department on being recognized with 5 awards at the 37th Annual Northern Lights Awards hosted by the Minnesota Association of Government Communicators last week. It's an association with more than 300 members from local government agencies throughout the state. One of our entries won the program's highest award of Best in Show. Met Sting the Greyhound took top prize in the category of a social media engagement. Started with a post about a greyhound who needed a reading partner, and wound up going viral and making Sting a star with dozens and dozens of kids and their parents wanting to meet Sting.
Lovely.
Communications manager Christy Staksvig and communications associate Pana Lore drove the campaign with Ramsey County Library and the rest of the communications team to make it a winner. Congratulations especially to them. We also had projects that won that involved Tamarack Nature Center, Clinic 555, 2018 elections communications, and foster care. Since 2015, our communications staff and projects have been recognized with 28 awards at this ceremony. Although we've been up for Best in Show before, we had never won it until this year. So congratulations. And I don't know why Sting is not here today to meet us all around the table.
Didn't make it through security.
But we'll work on that for next time. A couple other updates. The Ramsey County Library Summer Learning Program gets underway this Saturday and will run through August 17th. These are updates too that I'll have in County Connection, or in my County Manager column this week as well. It's a non-competitive program. Some reading programs can be really competitive. This is a non-competitive program, provides youth of all ages opportunities to read, explore, create, discover. And we know that there's a tendency for students, particularly students from low-income families, to lose some of their learning achievement gained during the school year. So really important engagement out of the Ramsey County Library. The library is also partnering with Youth Prize and St. Paul Public Schools to make sure children get nutritious meals throughout the summer. Free meals are available to anyone 18 years old or younger, beginning June 11th through August 16th at Roseville Library from 3:50 to 4:10 p.m., Monday through Friday. So 3:50 to 4:10 in the afternoons on weekdays. Part of a federally funded program that's serving locations across Minnesota, but really leveraging our anchor library that drives turnout and attendance across our entire system. What an opportunity to showcase that. Finally, looking at parks. Swim areas opened this past weekend at the county's 8 beaches. I'm sure you were all out yesterday swimming.
Right.
Battle Creek Waterworks will open this weekend. And this year, there's a new program being offered at Waterworks in partnership with the Autism Society of Minnesota I wanted to highlight for you. It's a sensory-friendly hour. It'll be available every Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. The event will offer earplugs, goggles, and masks, and a quiet place with fidget spinners and other toys for participants, along with a social narrative to help participants know what to expect during the event. So kudos to everybody in economic growth and community investment for continuing to look at ways to leverage our places and spaces to bring people together.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Outside board and committee reports, Commissioner Ortega.
Well, I want to congratulate Cruz Organization for a very successful campaign. We had a luncheon which Marta Castillo was there also, where we celebrated their opening. They doubled the size of the facility, state of the art. I mean, it's still going through the cosmetic phase, as I call it, but it's, they did a fantastic job, and it's, my understanding is something like 90% paid for already, so great job to the Cruz Organization. That's, it stands for Comunidades Latinas Unidos en Servicio.
And we're past executive director for that, right? Were you past executive director?
Right.
Yeah. Good.
And a founder.
And a founder. All right. Yeah. All right. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Yes, one of the events that I was able to go to last week was the Thrive Over 65. It is the first annual event at the Ramsey County Care Center, and they had a great turnout. They had vendors that were there, service providers that were there, a lot of people coming in asking questions. The library was there, and they had library bags for people, and everyone that was attending or their guests were so excited about, especially the reading program. I mean, how can you not be excited about that? On a sad note, however, I did take that opportunity also to go and visit Mary Anderson, Jean Anderson, and Judy Zielinski, our twin sisters. That was their mother, and I believe that Mary was 96 years old, but she did pass away 2 days after that. And so sympathy to her family and to all who loved her. She was a force to be reckoned with in the community in North St. Paul and Maplewood. Thank you.
Commissioner Mayors Castillo.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to our Metro Alliance for Healthy Families that received their re-accreditation this past Thursday. And I went to that debrief and ceremony to celebrate their re-accreditation. And what stood out to the reviewers, which is a very intensive process, was really about how we are providing intensive services in a culturally nurturing and non-judgmental way. And so a great shout out to the Metro Alliance for Healthy Families receiving their re-accreditation this week.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Carter.
Thank you. I'd like to mention a few things that I had the opportunity to do last week, including visiting a community meeting regarding our support for families in deportation and for deportation defense. And that was conducted and led by Elizabeth Tolsman, our planning director at Hallie Q. Brown Community Center. It was a very good overview of the work that we are doing with opportunities for community organizations to ask questions about the implementation that will be proceeding. So I just want to say thank you to the entire team for the work that they have done in ensuring that we are communicating well what we are doing to support families in deportation. I also had the opportunity to participate in the Burns Institute May Retreat. As you know, we are participating with Burns as a community, including our stakeholders, for juvenile justice to understand and to address root causes as they have existed throughout history and even in our system, so that we are able to help to create more resilient communities. It is a process of getting underneath. I can't report to you immediate accomplishments, but that we are proceeding to develop along with our partners the kinds of relationships and knowledge that we need, that all of us want to be sure our systems are based on as we approach our unique goals here in Ramsey County. I also was able to participate in, along with Commissioner McGuire, the JDAI State Advisory Committee. I already mentioned that that team is now being supported and taken on by Community Corrections at the state, or I should say by the State Department of Corrections. And it was a good opportunity to talk about the ongoing relationship of the Association of Minnesota Counties, along with Julie Ring, who is the Executive Director of Association of Minnesota Counties, who will be participating on that governance team as it moves forward and is being restructured. Attended a Recycling and Energy Board Facility and Finance Committee meeting along with Commissioner Matis Castillo, and we were reviewing the recommendations for what has been used to rebate haulers and the implementation of the work that we are doing in joint activities, the impact of those two together. And we'll be sharing with all of you, I know, from the department and also potentially in an upcoming workshop regarding those implications. So thank you for your attention to that work. And last but not least, I had the opportunity to attend an Andi Young open house. Andi Young provides support to youth, focusing on American Indian youth, but to all our youth who are in transition and homeless youth. And it was an opportunity to celebrate them and to recognize the work that they're doing, even as they prepare for the new center that they are building on University Avenue. I also had the opportunity to attend a Muslim iftar this weekend, and I would recommend to any of you who have not before, and if you have, congratulations, but to be able to attend and to share in celebration and recognition of the opportunity we have to live together as a community. I thought it particularly educational. I was able not only to participate in community, but also to attend a docent-led viewing of a prayer ceremony, which was very, very important, and to share in an iftar meal. So great things are happening in our community as the Muslim community itself is reaching out to ensure that we all have the knowledge and the tolerance that we need to be in community together. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple things. The Metropolitan Mosquito Control District did meet in an emergency meeting for more of a structural meeting. It was good, and we got a lot of work done there. Also, the Region 11 Interagency Early Intervention Committee met, and this is a group that I sit on with the Region 11 is a central region, and it includes counties, cities, schools, and we talk about interagency early intervention, and it's a great group that comes together to talk about how we can coordinate and work together. So that's always a great meeting. Also, I went to a character recognition luncheon where different groups were recognized for the work that they're doing in our community, and included a number of Ramsey County organizations, one World Without Genocide that's housed at Mitchell-Hamlin Law School. Also, there was the St. Paul's Peace School that was honored. A number of schools were recognized for their work. So I want to give a shout out to them. Also, Commissioner Manis Castillo and a number of our offices were at the Rice and Larpenteur Alliance meeting, where we continue to do work on the Rice and Larpenteur area, and I'm just excited about that work. Also, the regional solicitation for the Transportation Advisory Board is continuing to meet. We are a working group of stakeholders from the region, counties, cities, biking, walking, transit groups that are coming together to really analyze how we are what projects we're funding and how we're asking for which projects. So this focus of this meeting was on transit. It's fascinating, and it's just a great in-depth look on how we are going to be allocating the resources for the Transportation Advisory Board. Also, just coming up, the Capital Region Watershed is having their stakeholder input meeting, one of a series of 4. This might be one of the last ones, but it's going to be at Gloria Dei Lutheran Church on Snelling from 6 to 8 this Thursday night, May 30th, in a couple of days. That's the Capital Region Watershed. If you want to have any input on what your watershed is doing in the Capital Region. So,
Good, thank you. All right, 9:45, we'll have a board briefing on Boys Total Count. Commissioner Ortega will be chairing that, and at 12:30, the council and the Ramsey County Regional Rail Authority will lead a rush line tour that meets at Union Depot Dock. With that, no further business, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.